Hello, and welcome to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. In this segment, James and I talk about how to test your craft capabilities and come up with some pretty weird ideas. Hope you enjoy.
Hey, Pat,
Yes, James.
did you get that itch?
Oh, sorry you had to see that. I realized. I hope I didn't make you uncomfortable.
No. Well, no.
It's I have this metal ruler, and I had an
Uh-huh.
itch. I had just an itch on my left shoulder blade.
Uh-huh.
Man, I tell ya, when I got it, you ever have that feeling? You see the
You,
dog,
you
like,
you hit the itch, right?
I hit the itch,
You hit the itch.
hit that itch.
Yeah, hit that itch.
I'm sure
I think we're now doing rap lyrics. I
I,
think.
I hope I didn't make you uncomfortable. The expression on my face when I actually got that thing with my metal.
But you knew that you had hit that itch
Yeah, because I hit it.
because you hit it.
Yeah.
And so here's my question related to the world of creatives. How do we know we're hitting that itch? And I'm not talking about our itch, right? This is
Mm,
not using the ruler to scratch our own itch.
I love that.
Be hitting other people's itch so that they think this is good. I would like to read this.
Okay.
You know, and then that got me to thinking, there are many famous examples in movies, theater, et cetera, of the person going out loudly and proudly, as an opera singer, for example,
Uh-huh.
when they're terrible,
Right.
right? They're
Right.
no good, but they don't realize it until they have some big epic moment in front of a huge audience or something like that. Oh, I'm not good. So, how do we find out if we're even over that competence threshold in a way that is not subjective?
Okay then. So we're looking basically for a test.
A test.
More than one test, probably. So I have three proposals. One, does it sell? Does your stuff sell? Will somebody buy it? Somebody who isn't
Right.
your mother. Does it win any prizes
Mm-hmm.
or contests?
Mm-hmm.
And this is probably a subsection of the second one. Does it get you into any residencies or other opportunities
Wow.
over other
I
people?
would say all of those are imperfect.
They're all imperfect. Yeah. Can you elaborate?
There's, well, for each one, there are so many variables. Like, when you're talking about, so again, coming from this perspective of publishing, right?
Uh,
There are 1,000 people fighting for one spot,
yeah.
right? So it gets so subjective as to who gets selected, right? So we interviewed Richard Kelly Kemick.
Mhm.
He said that he's been on a committee that is choosing people for grants, but also for contests.
Mhm.
And he's felt this is the best one of the entries that we have, but not really anybody else did. And so somebody else became the winner, right? So I think if you're basing it on that, there's too much subjectivity in there to
Um,
really understand, am I over that competence threshold?
I beg to differ on that one. So I would suggest that anybody who makes the short list is can know that they are over the threshold. If they made the
Yeah,
short list, that means they were potentially good enough to win. Which
yeah,
one won in the end didn't matter. So maybe the question is not, did it win any prizes? Was it shortlisted for any
yeah.
prizes?
Yeah, and so I would the next step that I would go, the next layer that I would go is so obviously, yes, if you're winning competitions, getting selected for competitive residencies and getting published consistency, yeah, you're over the threshold. But we're talking about for people where success is inconsistent, right? And so it's the mid-level, it's the people who are trying to rise above. And so we're not there yet.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
we're trying to figure out, is this vein of creative work that we're doing, is it over that competence threshold, and how do I test for that?
Okay, so what do you propose? If it's not sales and it's not getting on a long list somewhere, how do you propose they test?
Yeah, so the first I would say, sales are imperfect, right? Um, and then the next one that I would think is you send it to somebody and say,
Yeah.
I want your opinion. But that's imperfect too,
Oh, feedback? Yeah, I don't trust feedback. I don't think it's a good.
because sometimes people just look for problems because they feel like I have to look for problems, and sometimes they just try to be polite, and so you don't get that really honest kind of feedback.
Mhm.
And so I get a little lost. The only one that comes to mind is really how do I feel about it? Do I feel like I am creating and it feels good. So when I finish a writing session or what have you, do I feel proud of the work that I've done? And then does that last, right? So it's not just the moment, but for days and the time after. But that's imperfect too because you're not getting that outside input.
Yeah, it's imperfect and it's not based on a finished product necessarily. It's based on a writing session. So, if I'm understanding you correctly,
Well, let me first say I write a short story and I
okay,
feel really good about that short story.
okay,
And it's part of I don't want to say theme because but I have found a new voice, I'm perfecting a voice,
uh-huh.
right? And so I've written a short story that's in that voice and it feels really good. So I would think that's one sort of immediate test that you can do.
Okay. I have another suggestion.
Uh-huh.
Go to a reading. Read your material at an open mic.
Yeah. Wow. That
Yes, it's
hits.
imperfect because part of it's to do with your delivery, part of it's to do with your selection of material, part of it's to do with who's there and what else is being done that night because everything changes a little bit in context with whatever else it's being presented with. But I think that might be one of the purer ways to test your own craft
Mhm. You
capability.
know, yeah, and it's interesting because that reminds, comedians
Yeah,
have that's their whole thing is
yeah,
test,
they
right?
test it.
They put a bit in, see what happens, they rework it, they try and find where the laugh is,
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff. And so they have that immediacy of the audience.
takes giant cojones.
Yes. Yes.
You have to
Huge.
be able to also to it's a performance aspect a lot of writers might not be comfortable with. But if you're looking for tests, it's a test. I think it's one of the more valid of the tests we've discussed.
Yeah. Well, and I would say, you say writers may not be comfortable, but I would say creatives in general, there's a real need to get comfortable with being in front of an audience.
Yeah, yeah, I know, I agree. I'm not saying it's a good thing that
Yeah.
writers might not be comfortable. I'm saying it's probably true, but I'm pretty comfortable in front of people because I teach. So
Hmm.
if you don't get comfortable in front of people, then you can't really teach.
Yeah. Well, I get nervous and comfortable,
Yeah, yeah.
if that
Yeah,
makes
I
sense.
saw your creative morning thing. It was really good. So, okay, so anything else they can do?
I know this is a tough one.
I mean, there maybe that's it. Maybe and let's see if we expand it to other arts. So will a dancer, will they get invited to join the company? That is also imperfect because there will be
Yeah.
politics. There will be like, oh, do we have enough people who look like this? Are they the right size and weight? Regardless of how stirring their
Mhm.
dance capabilities are. Do they win any prizes, contests, or seats in a residency situation? I think that has a level of purity to it because a lot of these are sort of blind. They don't know your
Mhm.
name, or they might know your name, but it doesn't mean
Mhm.
anything to them. They don't look at the bios until after they've all read the creative work. And if it's a
Mhm.
dance thing or an audition, now maybe with actors it's an audition, but that too is imperfect because you could be the best actor in the world, but if they want somebody who looks a certain way and you don't look like that, that's you're done,
Yeah. Well, and that's the challenge, right? So we're talking about threshold. And so you can have 1,000 people that get over the threshold,
Yeah.
but only five people are going to be listed as finalists and one person as a winner or something like that.
Yeah, I
It's like
understand.
college admissions.
Yeah.
Uh, where your grades, everything about you gets you over that threshold where yeah, you could go to school there.
Yeah.
Uh, but you're one of 3,000 other people and there's 500 spots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, you're right. I actually think we might be asking, well, not the wrong question, but if we're saying you want to test whether you're over a threshold, I guess the question to me is why do you want to test that? You
Hmm.
which speaks to kind of your first answer, which was if you feel like it's good, then it's probably good. Um, but I've met many, many delusional writers through my work who feel that they have a
Hmm.
novel that's ready to publish, and then I read it and I can see that it's unpublishable given its current
Hmm.
state because it doesn't meet the minimum standards for published work. So there is people who there is a disconnect between what you think you're doing and
Hmm.
what you're actually doing, which is why we're talking about a test. So okay, here's my maybe fourth, fifth proposal. What if you used as many channels as possible to get your information from? So only one channel, an imperfect one, is does it sell? Another imperfect channel is does it win any prizes, contests, seats in a residency? Another imperfect channel is when you do it at a reading, let's say if it's
Hmm.
writing, do you do people look away or are they interested? Um,
Hmm.
another channel might be, or say if you're an actor, do you get any auditions? Because they're comparing like to like in auditions. If you're going to
Hmm.
be a blonde soccer mom, you're not competing with 90% of the actors in the world. You're competing with other blonde soccer mom types. So all that to say, if you left a sheaf of your stories on the street corner and ask people to email you about whether they liked it or not, yeah, that's hugely imperfect because people might just pick it up to write notes on the back or something, or it might get taken away by the wind. But it's you're throwing spaghetti at the wall trying to figure out if you meet a certain level. Uh,
Hmm.
why wouldn't you do everything possible? Why don't you just take a month to take what you think is your best work and trot it out in 900 different directions and see what you
Yeah.
get?
Yeah. So I like it. Multiple imperfect tests that point in a similar direction
Yeah,
can give you information that, you
yeah.
know,
You want feedback, right? And so you
and I
also
guess,
ask two friends for feedback and or two writers. They don't have to be your friend, preferably not your friends, because your friends want to like it. So you get a couple of beta readers, ask them for feedback,
mhm.
and on
Yeah.
and on and on, right?
Yeah. And really I think, what this question is getting at is am I good enough?
That's
Right?
the question we're posing. Yeah, how do you test if you're good enough? Yeah.
So then, if it comes back no, I think, knowing us and the people we talk to and creatives generally, you keep pushing.
Yeah, yeah. You do
Right.
something with that information, right?
Yeah.
So, whether that's you drill down and say, well, what part of it, where did you get bored? Or you've like you can tell yourself at a reading where people are losing
Hmm.
interest. It's obvious, right? And that's
Yeah.
at a full reading. Not I'm not talking about where there's one bum on the seat, and you're like, okay, well, nobody came because it could be a million reasons. Nobody knew about it.
Yeah.
I'm in a strange city. I couldn't call on any people I know. So it's not just about whether anybody shows up. It's almost better to do it at a reading with a bunch of other readers.
Yeah.
They'll all have their friends too, and you can actually gauge the crowd's energy and stuff like that.
Yeah. And it's all part of this being mid-level,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So there's a difference between the person who's just starting out and blazing away in white hot inspiration, but creating work that really isn't going to get published because, it's not working on
yeah,
on the level.
yeah,
Um, but in this mid-level, you don't have that ease of going to your agent,
yeah.
right? Or going to your gallerist or
Mhm.
whoever, these kinds of things is you really got to figure this shit out for yourself.
Yeah.
And you've got to be able to um, have ways of understanding where you are and what you're doing and whether it, meets the competence threshold
Yeah.
uh, independently
Yeah.
without, there's not going to be a support system really out
Yeah.
there.
Exactly. And maybe you could do those tests, those multiple imperfect tests, with the objective not of, oh, I'm going to find out whether I should be doing this, but more with the objective of, I'm going to find out where I'm at, how much farther I need to go, and then I'm going to make a plan
Mhm.
based on that information to accelerate my progress.
Right. Right. So it's what's missing.
Yeah.
What am I missing? What's missing? And and this is great. This is interesting because, before we got on and started talking about this, we were discussing these main areas that we try and focus on, which is capacity and money. Are you going to be able to make enough to support yourself? And
Hmm.
then we decided that there's this third,
Yeah.
which is there an audience?
Yeah.
Right? And how to find your audience and all that kind of stuff. And I think this really fits into that. It's testing to make sure, yes, I'm on the right track, but there's things that are missing. And if I do these things, either it improves the work to where the audience comes to it, or it improves my understanding of who the audience is and how to access them.
Wow. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Okay,
All
cool.
right. Awesome.
We'll leave it there.
Let's leave it there.
Yeah, we're just,
Okay.
yeah,
I'm gonna walk away from it.
yeah, I'm walking away. It's on the table.
Reeks to high heaven. I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, it's starting to stink, isn't it?
Thanks so much for listening to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Hope you have a great creative week.